Welcome back to yet another episode of the Unspoken Rules podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian, aka Rabbit, and I'm here with the GOATs of Montana, aka Wildcard, and Mr. Blake Spillers. Today we're about to break down the NFC East. And man, this is going to be a very interesting one, to say the least. We got a lot of people out there that wanted us to break this down, and man, are we very excited to do so. Montana, take it away, and let's get into episode 32.
Take it away. What am I supposed to do? You guys, you want to start with the New York Giants first, correct?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, we're gonna start the New York Giants first because I'm gonna make sure that Lightout waits till the very last second of this episode to hear about the Washington football team, so he doesn't turn off our show halfway through. So the New York Giants are coming into this season a game shy or a loss to the Dallas. No, they beat the Dallas Cowboys last year, right? Right in Week 17, if I'm not mistaken. They're on the unfortunate wrong side of the division with the Washington football team. Obviously, I believe their records were tied, if I'm not mistaken, as of last year. But the Washington football team hold the tiebreaker and won the division of the NFC East.
Nah, Washington had a game above them.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
There you go. And the Washington football team was a game above the New York Giants. Okay, so the New York Giants are coming into this is year 3 of Daniel Jones.
Yes, year 3.
Yeah, year 3 of Daniel Jones. Obviously year 2 of head coach Joe Judge. Saquon Barkley was injured really early on last year, week 2, I believe, against the Chicago Bears, with a torn ACL. He's coming back this season. I do believe he's not expected to start right away at training camp. They're going to work his way into football playing shape. Obviously, they signed Kenny Golladay in the offseason, drafted Tooney from Florida, another wide receiver to revamp this receiving core in New York. Obviously, they have some offensive linemen coming in. Andrew Thomas is going to be his second year at left tackle from Georgia University. So, obviously, the New York Giants are one of the reasons why they were such a fun team to watch last year is because of their defense. So, Blake, Sebastian, what do you guys think about the New York Giants going into the season?
Well, I'm going to kick off in saying this. I'm just going to start the show. The Giants are going to win the NFC East division this year. No doubt in my mind, they're going to win it. I don't think they're going to – I think it's going to be close like it was last year. I think it's going to be another garbage shoot year for the NFC East. But I like what the Giants did in the offseason this year. Like you said, they added Kenny Golladay, and not only that, they added a speedster in John Ross, which is what they much needed. And if John Ross has not panned out so far in the NFL. He broke the NFL Combine when he came in. Everyone had a high expectations. He's had a few moments where you're like, wow, like he could be a good receiver in the NFL. He hasn't been that consistently, but the Giants might be the perfect key for him. They've got good offensive weapons around him. Like I said, you've got Kenny Golladay. You've got Darius Slayton from last year. You also, in the first round draft, Kadarius Toney, a beast out of Florida. I think that was a great draft pick. He's going to be one of the best wide receivers in this draft class. Not only that, you had a veteran tight end, Kyle Rudolph, who has good hands. He knows how to block. He's out there. He's been in the league for, I think, 9 or 10 years now. He played for the Vikings. He's always been good for them. He's had many playoff clutch moments. I mean, he sent the Saints home 2 years ago. I could see him doing that. You've got Adoree Jackson they added. He's a great cornerback, I think. He wasn't in the right situation, I think, in Tennessee, and I think he'll really shine here with the Giants. You added Devontae Booker and Danny Shelton, another defensive piece that's huge. That was the biggest problem for the Giants last year. Their defense struggled, and then obviously Saquon Barkley was injured since week 2. That affected their entire run game, and I think that really negatively impacted Daniel Jones. I didn't expect Daniel Jones to go crazy last year, but I expected him to have a better year. And I think losing Saquon so early kind of not only just ruined their run game, but I think mentally it kind of tore down Daniel Jones because that's what they were going to rely on. I mean, their offense was going to rely on Saquon and then let Daniel Jones do everything else on like the play action. So losing your running back is never key. But with him coming back, going into the offseason, I thought the Giants' biggest needs was they needed offensive line and they needed more edge rushers. Adding Danny Shelton he's not an edge rusher, obviously, but he can provide pressure at the defensive tackle position. You added a linebacker and I'm going to butcher this, but
Julia,
Aziz Julia, a
Mhm.
linebacker out of Georgia, who is an absolute monster. And if for
Mhm.
those of you who don't know, linebackers out of Georgia always pan out in the NFL. They always pan out. Obviously, as a Bears fan, Roquan Smith comes to mind. He's been a starter since pretty much day one for the Bears. He's been an all-pro type linebacker, and a lot of linebackers out of Georgia are successful early on in their careers, and I expect the same for Aziz. Not only that, but you could really tell they were focusing a lot on that defense in the draft because they got a quarterback out of UFC and Aaron Robinson in the third round, and then they also got another linebacker from Northern Iowa, Ellerson Smith. Now, some of these names, I don't expect them to be day one starters, but these are going to be day one impactful players. They're going to put up important minutes for the Giants, and even though they won't start, they're going to be good rotational players. Now, going in their record last year, they were 6-10, nothing too great, but let's be honest, the entire NFC East wasn't that great last
Mhm.
year. And going into this season, they've got about a similar schedule in terms of strength of schedule. They were 26th in strength of schedule in 2020. Going into 2021, they're 25th. And now, kind of going through a rundown of their schedule a little bit, I expect them to split the division. I think they're going to go 3-3 in the division. They're probably going to win their games at home and lose their games on the road. That is what it seems to happen a lot in this division. Most of the time, unless there's one team that pulls away, it seems like the NFC East is always beating each other up a little bit. And it seems to me, I think it's going to be the same this year. I think the Giants did the most to improve out of any other team in the division, which is why I personally think they're going to win the division, considering how close they were with all of the injuries and whatnot that they dealt with last year. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have tough games, because they do have some tough games. They play a lot of tough games on the road. You got to play at the Buccaneers, and that sleeper team for me next year, the Chargers. The Chargers did so much to improve their roster from last year. Not only that, they've got the real deal in Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert, not only did he break just about every single rookie record last year, but he did that with a so-so offensive line and with injuries at the running back position. Now, I don't want to get too far into the Chargers. That'll be a conversation for another day. But going on from that, I think the Giants are going to finish with an 8-9 record. Nothing too great, but I think that wins the division, honestly, in the NFC East. Now that I've kind of gotten that set, I'll let Sebastian take over from here.
All right, so you basically mentioned everything when it comes to Kenny Galladay, John Ross, Adoree Jackson, who's honestly one of my favorite players, just to watch. Like the man brings a lot of energy, and I feel like you said, he was in a bad situation in Tennessee, and just to see him being able to be happy with the decision that he made, and kind of hopefully see a different light of him, on the field. So I'm excited to just see the man play and honestly just be able to contribute as much as he possibly can for that team. But as you know, I guess I'll take a different approach in the aspect and the regard of you saying that they finished 8-9.
Yes.
I completely think that the Giants win about 10 games, max 12. But to be safe, I'm going to go with a 10-7 final prediction. I think, and I know Montana can talk about this in a second. Like, I think we're going to see a very strong and a very impactful season by Danny Dimes. And I think he's going to get that production from Kenny Galladay and Darius Slayton, as well as I think John Ross, like you mentioned before the show. He hasn't broken out yet. And I think this year we'll see a different John Ross in that system. And I kind of just have been a big John Ross fan. So maybe it's just a little bias in me. But offensively, their team is looking really nice. And, I just want to see how Adoree plays, this year on that defense. But there's not really much to it except maybe shouting out my dog, Kyle Rudolph. You know what I'm saying? I want, do your thing, baby boy. Go ahead, Montana.
All right. Yeah. So as far as the New York Giants go, obviously the Kyle Rudolph addition is probably one of the biggest veteran additions on that offense. Obviously, he's probably going to be playing behind Evan Ingram, but as you said, Evan Ingram has had issues blocking. He's had issues with drops, so it's going to be interesting to see how they balance both tight ends in the new offense that they're going to be running out this year, especially if Evan Ingram continues to drop passes in crucial moments. what do the Giants do? Do they sit down Evan Ingram? Because this guy has a lot of potential at the tight end position, and just hasn't put it together. I think two of the biggest tight ends that in the NFL that we haven't seen to their full potential yet is Evan Ingram and OJ Howard out of Tampa Bay. I think those two guys have had so much potential, so much time. They still do have a lot of potential. They just got to fix some of the issues that they have. But I don't know if that's a little bit too little or too late at this point in their careers. Obviously, Saquon Barkley coming back this season is going to be a huge boost to the offense, especially at the running back position, where they had a lot of issues last year, especially bringing in Devontae Freeman about week 3 or week 4, I believe, last season. But obviously, he did not pan out. He was coming off the streets. Dion Lewis was another guy last year that they had it revolving with Devontae Freeman. Didn't work out. So it's going to be good to see Saquon Barkley get back on the field for the Giants. And they're going to need his offensive production, especially in the receiving game, because as much as the run game is going to be big for them, they're going to need his work in the receiving game to win football games. Because I still believe, as good as the offensive line was towards the end of the season for the Giants last year, they're still a little bit suspect in my eyes that they are going to be able to hold up for Daniel Jones and provide enough holes for Saquon Barkley to run through. Obviously, you have Andrew Thomas at left tackle, who's going to be he's got to prove it this year, because last year he was a little bit inconsistent. Daniel Jones is going to need that protection, especially on the blind side of the field. But I do like the offensive additions with Kenny Galladay and Tooney from Florida. I just don't know how to expect a rookie wide receiver to come into this and blow the doors off. I know you said he might be the best wide receiver in this draft class, but it's going to take time, especially for rookie wide receivers, all of the rookie wide receivers in this class, to gel with their quarterbacks and offensive systems, which is why I'm not 100% sold on the Giants' receiving core just yet. Obviously, you still have Sterling Shepard. Kenny Galladay is coming in from Detroit. He's going from Matthew Stafford to Daniel Jones to see how that translates. But I'm just not a believer in Daniel Jones. I just not a believer in him. I just don't see, in my eyes, he's an Eli Manning 2.0, and not the good Eli Manning, the bad Eli Manning. He's just really inconsistent. In my opinion, he's just really inconsistent. This guy hasn't been able to put 2 seasons of strong football together. Obviously, he did come on a little bit better towards the end of the season last year. He like you said, he does have new offensive weapons this year. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. But this is a make or break season for Daniel Jones, and I'm just not sure if he's going to be the guy for New York moving forward.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the offensive line, because that is the biggest question mark for this team. I'm pretty sure I looked into it. I think they're ranked as the worst offensive line group going into this season, which is never a good sign, which is a lot of the reason Daniel Jones has been struggling a lot. Now, I did mention that their biggest needs, one of them was the offensive line, and they didn't really do too much this offseason to fix their offensive line issues. They kind of added a lot of offensive weapons, hoping that will kind of even it out. So I think that's why I only have them winning 8 games. I have a lot of hope for the Giants players. I think Daniel Jones can be good. Obviously, we know what Saquon can do. We know what Kenny Galladay can do. Darius Slayton went off last year, even with Daniel Jones' struggles. You've got Sterling Shepard. You added John Ross. You've got stacked offensive weapons between running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. It just all comes down to that offensive line. Can they protect Daniel Jones? Can they create running holes for Saquon Barkley? Because if that offensive line, forget playing well, if that offensive line plays average, then I think they win more than the 8 games I have them projected. But I just don't trust this offensive line enough to have them winning more than 8 or 9 games this season, to be honest.
No, I mean, that's completely fair to say. I just feel like, as I mentioned, like we're going to see breakout performances. Go ahead.
The way that I can't believe you even thought that the Giants are going to win 12 games. That's a lot. I think that's a lot of games.
I think if you look at their schedule, it's not difficult if they play up to par, as I expect or would hope.
They would have to run the table in the NFC East to, in my opinion, to do that.
We already calculated it before the show started. Blake said everybody splits the entire season, right? So they split in the division 3-3. So if that's the case, you tally it up and then you look at the one win that like I guess you could look at is your freaking Chicago Bears. I have them winning that. You guys don't. So that would be very difficult to, to do so or whatever the case may be. And
It's a road game, right?
Yeah.
It's in Chicago. So, I mean, if you just look at the schedule, 12 is not like asking a lot in the aspect of like the competition they're playing, but it comes down to how are they going to mesh well. And if Danny Dimes can have, an actual good year, if he's going to have the breakout year that I'm thinking, I think they can do it. If he has a regular, season, and you said what, this is like a must breakout year or whatever for him. So if he doesn't have that year, then at that point, then I can see them getting what, 7 wins or 8 wins that you were thinking. So I mean, it just comes down to, I feel like the Giants can be a lot better because of their offense firepower that they added this offseason.
I mean, I think you're right, but I think other than that, with that being said, I think that finishes kind of up with the Giants talk there, which moves us on to the next team. Maybe honestly the most controversial team in terms of how their fans react every single year, or winning the Super Bowl. Well, with that being said, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys coming into the year. This team to me they're weird because last year we saw Dak Prescott come in, and when he was healthy, he put up crazy stats. He was putting up 400 yards in a lot of games. We got Sebastian dancing in the background.
I'm like, what are you doing over there?
But anyways, we've got Dak Prescott when he was healthy, in my opinion, put up garbage time stats.
Here we go.
Let me get into it. There are multiple games I was watching, the Green Bay Packers game in particular, where they got down 30 points, and then in the fourth quarter, when the Packers were playing prevent defense, letting him throw all over because they were just trying to keep them from scoring as fast as possible because you're up 30 points. Then that's where he gets his yards. That's where he gets his touchdowns. That's not all hate on Dak Prescott. I'm not here to just completely hate on Dak Prescott, but I'm just saying how it is. He had multiple games last year where people were like, wow, look at the stats he put up. But guess what he did? He lost those games. People like to blame the entire season on Dak Prescott going down. But I do believe that they were either below 500 or exactly 500 by the time he went down. And then when Andy Dalton came in, they stayed around 500, just below 500. So, yes, I'm not saying Andy Dalton is as good as Dak Prescott, nowhere near. But what I am saying is Dak Prescott was putting up numbers when it didn't matter. He was putting up numbers when it was too late in the game for them to come back. Can Dak Prescott play well in 4 quarters? Can Dak Prescott actually win games? I don't care about stats. You can throw 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, fill the stat sheet every single game, and if you're not winning those games, I don't think it really matters. With that being said,
it's not only Dak Prescott. It's Ezekiel Elliott also.
I was about to. Well, I wasn't going to blame Zeke because it's not Zeke's fault. It's the defense's fault. What it comes down to, that defense could not stop a freaking chair. Me, Montana, and Sebastian could go out there with me being the quarterback, and I think we'd put up 30 points. That's how bad this defense is. And with that being said, though, their biggest needs going into the season, this isn't going to surprise anybody: safety, defensive tackle, cornerback, DN, linebacker. Pretty much every defensive position you can think of, they had a weakness in it. Now, with that being said, they did add a decent amount of key additions in the free agency. Malik Hooker, one of the best safeties in the league, is looking into signing with Dallas. I don't think he's not officially signed.
It's already pen paper. Go.
Okay, I don't think he's officially signed though, but it does look like he's going there. So that's why I have him in the key additions. You have Keanu Neal, an underrated linebacker, outside linebacker who can get sacks. They also added Devontae Kazee, a safety that's also very underrated. Now, with that, those are 3 huge additions to this defense. I mean, those are 3 guys that are going to start. Well, Kazee won't start now that they got Malik Hooker, but he'll be a good backup. You've got 2 starters, 1 rotational player, and that was before the draft. And then you get into the draft. They got one of my favorite linebackers in the entire draft, in Micah Parsons out of Penn State. He's going to be a day 1 starter, a day 1 impactful player. I expect him. The linebackers for the Cowboys, they aren't bad, especially after adding Micah Parsons. I mean, they just need to stay healthy. You've got Jalen Smith out of Notre Dame. You have Van Der Esch, another good linebacker who just can't stay healthy. If these guys can stay in the field, then that linebacker crew can be lethal this year, in my opinion. Now, with that being said, the entire draft for the Cowboys was kind of focused on the defense. You got a cornerback, Kelvin Joseph, out of Kentucky in the second round. You got 2 defensive linemen in the third round, another cornerback in the third round. I mean, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 draft picks, and every single one they used 8 of them on defensive players. The other 2 they used on offensive linemen, and then they also got 1 wide receiver. Now, with that being said, the Cowboys, yes, they have one of the easiest ranked schedules going into the year, but I think that number, they're the 31st ranked in strength of schedule. I think that number's kind of a lie. It's kind of a little bit of a tease for Cowboys fans because they play a lot of tough games on the road. I mean, to start, you play at the Buccaneers, then you go play at the Chargers. Those are 2 L's right there. You also have to play at the Patriots, at the Vikings, at the Chiefs, at the Saints. I mean, with that being said, I don't expect the Giants to win too many games this year. Now, like I said, or the Cowboys. I said the Giants. I meant the Cowboys. With that being said, I think the Cowboys are going to be right around. I think this division is going to do exactly what they did last year for the most part. I feel like most of these teams are going to stay right around each other for the most part. It's going to come down to the last couple games. Who's able to get that 1 win to finish with maybe 8 wins instead of 7 to make the playoffs, which is ridiculous to me. We're talking about the NFC East, again, having a member in the playoffs with probably a below 500 record, which is crazy to think about, that the NFL has teams with a below 500 record in it. What's also crazy is this division alone sparked a conversation that changing the entire playoff format. One division alone is in talks about is what was forcing people to talk about, hey, maybe we shouldn't automatically put a division winner into the playoffs. Like, it's crazy to think that the playoff format that we've had for so long was getting discussed about change because one division was so bad that they didn't think they deserved to have a member in the playoffs, which I 100% agree. I don't want to hate on the Buccaneers playoff route last year, but the Buccaneers were a wild card team and got to play the freaking Redskins in their first round playoff, even though that the Patriots had a better record than the Redskins. That was the Buccaneers were technically underdogs in that game because they were playing on the road. They were the lower seed. Like, that blows my mind that a team with like 4 more wins is the lower seed in the playoffs, which I think the conversation with should the NFC East automatically have a winner or automatically have a playoff team, I don't think they should. And I kind of like the conversation kind of changing. I think it should just be the best teams in the entire conference. I don't think you should put division winners in there automatically, especially if your division winners winning 7 or 8 games. I think that's a little ridiculous because you've got teams fighting for wild card spots that have 2 more wins than they do, but they don't have a chance of making the playoffs because you automatically are giving a spot to this division winner. I think that's a little ridiculous. But with that being said, back onto the Cowboys specifically, I think the Cowboys are going to finish 7-10 this year. They're going to finish very average like they have been the last couple of years. I don't expect anything crazy out of them. Zeke has a lot of miles on his legs. He's getting tired. He's not as elite as he once was. He doesn't have that breakout speed. But that's not to say he's not good anymore because he still is good. But the biggest problem is, aside from that defense, their offensive line just isn't what it once was. Their offensive line used to be top 5 every year. It used to be elite. But now a lot of the players have not only left, but have gotten old. A lot of them can't stay healthy anymore. If this offensive line is able to stay healthy, stay in the field for 17 games this year, then it's a different conversation. But I don't expect that to happen because I think there were about 3 guys on this offensive line unit that were in and out of the lineup last year due to injuries. And I expect probably the same to happen this year. Old age in the NFL, especially for linemen, both defensive and offensive, it definitely shows because what people don't realize is offense and defensive linemen probably have the hardest workload out of any position on the field because they're constantly getting hit. They're constantly having to push, constantly having to do things. Whereas other positions, you're not constantly getting hit. that wears off on your body, which is a lot of the time why we see offensive and defensive linemen kind of being the earliest age group for players to retire.
I was just going to say that.
Players to not only for players to retire, but for players to kind of like have the lowest amount of time in their prime. You don't see offensive linemen have more than 5 to 6 years of success usually, just because of them constantly having to battle in the trenches, which is why I'm not throwing too much shade on the Cowboys offensive linemen, because this is something you see throughout the entire league, not just with the Cowboys. But Sebastian, I'll let you finish off now.
No, 100%. To bounce off of that point, I was just going to say that that's why you see majority of them boys, for the most part, get injured like frequently and often. Like a perfect example of that is what's his face? Jawan James, or who are you going to say?
Well, I was gonna say Tyron Smith. This guy
Tyron Smith.
He's one of the left tackle of the Cowboys. Can't stay on the field at
another
all.
Perfect example, yeah.
And Travis Frederick had a lot of injury problems against.
But he retired. He retired early because he knew that he was the liability to this team at that point.
No,
same thing. We're looking at Notre Dame right guards, Zach Martin. The guy, he's starting to get up there in age, and obviously Father Time is catching up with him. Lyle Collins, he's not as old as the other two, but he's definitely been a lot more injury prone. So the offensive line is definitely an issue for Dallas.
No, 100%. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, like it's going to be a problem, and like you said, with age and whatnot. But I think you get a full year of CeeDee Lamb. You know what I'm saying now, and my only issue with the Cowboys right now is Dak Prescott's health. Like, I think, what was it, a shoulder injury that is now holding him out for a couple of weeks. Now, I don't know how long it's going to if it's going to be a couple of weeks, or if it's going to lead into them being safe and extending his inactivity or whatever the case may be. But that's the only thing that concerns me for the Dallas Cowboys. Defensively, I feel like they got their bolster that they needed to be, to like kind of put them over the hump. Every time they've gotten into playoff games, their problem has always been their damn defense. Their defense is non-existent. They'll get, to their 8-8 or whatever the case may be to get into the playoffs. They get into the playoff situation out of nowhere. Everyone just goes freaking MIA. And you can't see a single defensive player do you didn't make a damn tackle. You can't see anybody make a damn play on defense. And I think to get my boy Malik Hooker, that man was supposed to come to Miami, but of course he said, I guarantee, and I'm gonna be like freaking Chuck, and I know it has nothing to do with this sport, but I'm a guarantee this damn stamp that the reason Malik Hooker did not come to the Miami Dolphins is because we play the goddamn Colts. I'm telling you, that is the goddamn reason that Malik Hooker did not come to the goddamn freaking Miami Dolphins. That's number one. Number two, I like Keanu Neal. I love Keanu Neal. I've been a huge fan of this kid. I shouldn't say kid because he's definitely older than me, but I've been a huge fan of this guy, and to see him, join this defense and help them improve to become a better defense, that they need. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. One person that left that hurts my heart, even though I'm not a Cowboys fan, but like I know one of my boys that's a Cowboys fan. What's his name? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Sean Lee?
No. Chidobe Awuzie. However you pronounce his name. Having him leave sucks. And like, I know a lot of Cowboys fans are sad about that, or at least like a lot of my friends that are Cowboys fans are sad about that. But I feel like you replace him with Kelvin Joseph, the second round pick from Kentucky. I feel like he's got a beautiful fit in that defense. And I feel like, he'll make an impact, whether it's, first day or at some point, whenever the case he gets reps. I just think he's going to have an impactful season or an impactful career, to say the least. So I love this defense where they're at now. I like the way that they're going when it comes to their linebackers and their secondary.
They're young.
That's young. What I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
They're going to be young and hopefully young and hungry.
Hopefully, bro.
And they got a new defensive coordinator in Dan Quinn. Yeah, and we've seen what he could do with defense.
That's why Calvin Joseph fits that scheme perfectly, because it's exactly like it plays right into his, like, I guess, known defensive scheme. So it's just honestly, I like where the Cowboys are at in the sense of free agency. I guess all they really did was gave Prescott the money, but bring in Neal and Malik Hooker was huge for their defense. But bro, I have them completely different than what you guys have them. I have them 10-7, and I have them winning the division. I have them winning the division. I think what comes down to for the Cowboys ultimately is that week 5 matchup. I think if Dak stays healthy, I think even if they tie, in my eyes, I know you said they tie like 3-3, everybody in the whole division. I think if they win this week 5 matchup against the Giants, I think ultimately the Cowboys will win that later on matchup. I don't remember exactly what day that is or which week it is, but I think they win both of those games, ultimately beating the Giants and taking over that first spot in the division and finishing 10-7. My max for them is around 11-12 as well, but I think 11 would be perfect. But to be safe, I'm making a prediction 10-7.
You brought up that week 5 matchup, but I think the biggest stretch of games for the Cowboys, they finished the season with with 4 out of their last 5 games are divisional opponents. They go at Washington, at New York, versus Washington, versus Arizona, and then at Philly. That is a tough stretch to end their season, and that's where I have their season falling apart. I had them with 7 wins through week 14, but then I have them losing those last 4 games. I have them losing at the Giants.
They're losing both Washington games.
No, I actually have them winning at Washington. I flipped that one. I think they win at Washington, but then I think they lose at home. I think they're going to – I know that's usually the opposite. You usually see them winning at home and losing on the road, but I think Washington – either way, I mean, they either win that one at home or lose the one on the road. I mean, it's going to be either or. I don't think they sweep Washington by any means. I mean, because this division, like I said, like, I'm not saying that they're splitting because I think these teams are necessarily even with each other. I think they're close. But I also just think that this division for the longest time just has each other's numbers. They just do. I think that each team in this division knows how to beat the other team, which is why I think that overall that they're going to split all the way. It's not that just because that's the easy way out. People are going to probably come at me saying, oh, like you just had each team finishing 3-3. I don't have that in any other division. There's not another single division in the entire NFL where I have each team finishing with the same division record. This division is just different. It's weird. The NFC East, they're like I said, they're not necessarily all even with each other, but they all know how to beat each other, which is why ultimately I have them splitting.
I'm very curious. Before, sorry to interrupt.
No,
you have them beating New England, or you have them losing to New England in New England?
Yes, I have them losing.
No shot. No shot.
No. Oh, no shot.
No, the Patriots defense is
no
you're
shot.
under.
No
I'm telling you,
bro, I don't like
really
the Patriots. I hate them. I don't care if I'm underestimating. Prove me something from that goddamn team before I have any kind of belief in the Patriots.
You don't believe in Bill Belichick?
Man, Bill Belichick, I don't give a rat's ass, bro. What happened? Oh, if I believed in Bill Belichick, what happened last year? Why'd they have a bad year?
Because they were missing half their defense.
Injuries.
So now we're giving up excuses. But he's a GOAT, isn't it? It's supposed to be next man up mentality. So what happened?
They still won more games than this entire division did, pretty much.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I got the Cowboys at it. Listen. Bro, you guys love Mac Jones for God knows what reason.
No, I'm not even loving
No.
Stop
it. Okay, but by week 5, you think Mac Jones is not going to be out there?
Cam Newton starts off hot.
All right, fine, whatever. That's a whole little if situation. I think with the additions of the players that they made on defense, it's a bolster for their defense, and I think they go off crazy, and their defense actually finally shows up in games and performs what they need from them with the offensive power that they have. Yes, their O-line is suspect, whatever the case may be, because of old age, but I still think with Dak's ability to play football and Zeke's ability to play football, you have great wideouts on. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? Go ahead and interrupt me.
I'm not 100% sure how Ezekiel Elliott's gonna fare this year. I know he's lost a lot of weight going into the season. He's gotten a lot more leaner. Hopefully that helps him because each year he's lost his average yards per game, and his yards on the season have gone down significantly. His burst isn't there like it was early on in his career, and he's getting less and less snaps to Tony Pollard. So I'm not sure how I think about Ezekiel Elliott, especially if that offensive line is not going to be 100%. I guarantee you 2 guys on that offensive line are going to be injured throughout the season. So I just don't see how Ezekiel Elliott's going to be a difference maker for the Cowboys.
So if he's not a difference maker, you're telling me that the level of potential behind CeeDee Lamb gives Dak Prescott absolutely nothing to work with?
I'm saying, yeah, obviously,
Or
with Dak
Amari Cooper,
Prescott,
bro, they
yeah,
have two
listen,
great.
they have Amari Cooper, they have CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup still. Yes, their
My
receiving
guys.
core is still the top. Their receiving core is probably one of the best receiving cores in football going into the season. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to throw the football. It's late in games. You win games by running the football, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
So you think?
I don't think it's as
Go
much
ahead.
Zeke as it is on the offensive line, though. Yes, looking at those stats, it's easy to blame Zeke's yards per carry is going down each year. His total yardage is going down per year. But you're forgetting that Zeke went from playing with the number one rated offensive line for his first 2 or 3 years in the league to playing against a middle of the pack, bottom 15 offensive line. That's a huge difference. And then not only that, they just give him the ball less. Yes, his yards per carry has gone down, but it hasn't been ridiculously low. Like, he's still putting up decent stats. He still has good games. But if you watch Cowboys games last year, then you would realize that Zeke's
The reason they're giving him the ball less and less is because they have to keep throwing the ball 1,000 times because they're so far behind in football games.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different story. That's the whole defense problem, though. That's not
which
really
is why
they
made the additions that they did. Getting Malik Hooker, I think, is going to be one of the most impactful decisions for this team, as well as
be the
Keanu
leader
Neal
in that defense.
But Keanu Neal is I'm a little biased towards him. He's a hooper, so I just love his game in that aspect. Malik Hooker, I've loved that dude. Like, I've wanted that man on my damn team for God knows how long. So to see my boys get him and my boys squad, not the actual cap, you know what I mean? My boys squad get him. I think they're going to be extremely happy with Malik Hooker. Bro, I really think this defense will shock the world and especially shock you, Montana, and give the ability for them to not have to play that type of football where it's always consistently come from behind, throw everything. Dak has to throw 50 times, whatever the case may be. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think it's a completely different ball game. I think they win more. 10-7 is where I'm putting it. They win the division simply because of that Week 5 matchup. Because obviously, in my eyes, I think the Giants and the Cowboys tie 10-7, and I think the Cowboys win because of that tiebreaker that they win in Week 5.
See, the biggest problem, though, for this Cowboys team, which we haven't mentioned yet, is Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is not a good coach. He doesn't have a good offensive scheme anymore. He thinks that the offensive scheme he ran 10 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl with the Packers can still win him games this year. There's a reason he got fired from Green Bay. He bullshitted his way into getting the job with Dallas. He told Jerry Jones that he watched every single Dallas snap, that he watched every single Dak Prescott snap, which then he said in this press conference, which was a lie. He went in and admitted that he didn't actually watch every single snap, which I thought was hilarious how fast he was to admit that he just completely lied to Jerry Jones. I'm not saying that him telling Jerry Jones that he watched every snap was the reason he got the job, but I'm sure as hell knowing that it didn't hurt him getting the job. And now that I just don't think that Mike. Okay, put it this way.
The thing with Mike, okay, you could talk about Mike McCarthy being, he's the head coach and everything, but this is all on Kellen Moore. He's the guy that's calling the plays.
Is Mike McCarthy handing over play calling though?
He was.
Kellen Moore
handed it over last year.
Yeah, so did Matt Nagy, and Matt Nagy's taking it over again this year.
I don't know. I
don't know if I don't think it's been confirmed if Mike McCarthy is back to playing calls, but it's still his offensive scheme. It's still his offensive playbook. Yes, I think Kellen Moore can be a beast. For those of you that might not be huge in the college football, Kellen Moore is one of the greatest college football players to ever exist. One of the greatest college football players. He put up crazy stats for Boise State. He's the reason they beat. I think he was right. He was the quarterback when they beat Oklahoma in that bowl game. I believe Kellen Moore was the quarterback for that. But anyways, that's besides the point. I just don't trust Mike McCarthy enough to get this offense where it needs to be. I think the problem is, how are you going to fire him? Because this division's so-so. Yeah. They have a relatively not too hard of a schedule. They're going to win enough games to where Mike McCarthy's seat is probably safe. But I don't think Mike McCarthy's the coach that can bring this team over the edge. I don't think he can motivate this team to where it needs to be, because when you have a young, especially defensive wise, when you have a young defense, you need a coach that's going to put them in the right positions. You need a coach that's going to pump them up. You need a coach that's going to make them hungry. And Mike McCarthy is not that guy.
That being said, the Dallas Cowboys are definitely one of the more interesting teams going into the NFC East this year. So Sebastian, why don't you take us over to Philadelphia and those Eagles?
Bro, you want me to take us into this?
Yeah, because I'm going to take Washington.
Oh, God. All right. Well, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. So, I mean, what do you want to? I guess we could go over, some key additions. The Philadelphia Eagles brought on the GOAT himself, Mr. Super Bowl MVP. Wow. Mr. GOAT himself. What?
I'm very curious where this is going.
Mr. should have gotten, you know what I'm saying? Mr. He carried the team to success. Mr. All right, let me stop trolling. Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco.
Oh my God, bro. Really? I was like, where the hell is this going? I really like, where the hell is this going?
Oh my God, I had to troll a little bit. I had to troll a little bit.
Playoff record's different, bro. I'm just saying.
Bro, I had to troll a little bit.
Watch out, Jalen Hurts. Joe Flacco coming.
You know what I'm saying? Joe Flacco's coming to take your spot. All right, let me stop. But no, they brought Kerryon Johnson, Ryan Kerrigan. What is he's like? He's not old, but like he's up there in age. You know,
I feel like
old. I forgot Kerrigan was on the Eagles now.
Yeah. He just he signed a 1-year deal. Steven Nelson, big pickup for that squad. As well as obviously Mr. Anthony Harris, the man, the myth, the legend, the freaking Madden 21 phenom that can just hoop whenever you need him to, at least when you come to play the damn game. But obviously they lost some key players, which I guess we don't have to really get into. And Jalen Mills, Malik Jackson, Vinny Curry, Alshon. Obviously, we don't know where the hell this man is going to end up. Deshaun, Corey Clement, and the man himself, Mr. Carson Wentz. But to be honest with you, I don't really have much to talk about for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I like their draft. That's the only thing that I can really speak highly of for the Eagles was their draft. Especially, hold on, let me get the exact name.
All I gotta say is thank you, Philadelphia Eagles, for taking Devontae Smith.
There you go,
and letting the Giants trade their pick to the Chicago Bears so we could take Justin Fields.
There you go. So yes, I love Devontae Smith. Yes, as a Dolphins fan, should you really be saying that? Yes, I mean that's my guy. Honestly, I thought I was gonna get Devontae Smith, but we got Jalen Waddle. I ain't tripping too much about it. We'll see. You know what I'm saying? Who has a better career? But at the end of the day, my biggest W when it comes to players that they drafted was the GOAT himself, Milton Williams, defensive tackle from Louisiana Tech. As surprising as that name may be, because I know a lot of people didn't look or don't. Maybe a lot of people don't know who the hell that guy is. This man at his pro day for Louisiana Tech posted these numbers, and then I'm going to compare to one of the greatest DTs in the game right now. So let me just compare. All right. He is 6'3", 284 pounds. At his pro day, posts a 4.63 40, a 1.65 10-yard split, a 6.96 3-cone drill, 4.33 short shuttle, 38.5 vertical leap, 10-foot-1 broad jump, and a 34 bench reps. Compare. Their biggest comparison that I got from this was Mr. Aaron Donald, 2014 combine, 6'1", 285, a pound less, 2 inches taller than Aaron Donald. Why do I keep saying Donald? 4.68 40 in 2014. 5 0.5 of a second slower or faster. 1.59 10-yard split, 7.11 3-cone drill, 4.39 short shuttle, 32-inch vertical leap, 9'8" broad jump, and 35 bench reps. The comparison is absolutely if you're not watching on the video format, I'm doing the little mwah. I'm kissing my freaking hands, my fingers. Mwah. This is precise beauty at its finest. The man, I feel like, has so much potential to be great. My problem is going to the damn Eagles. I don't know if they're going to cook this man's career. Maybe he leaves later on, but I think this man has the talent, the potential, the traits, everything possible to be one of the greatest to ever do it. And so if he ends up developing the way that they're comparing him, I think this man will be the greatest pickup from this draft. He will be the best pick from this draft in years to come. We will see as a third rounder, number 73 overall, if he ends up panning out the way that they want him to. But, I took too long on talking about him. I just really saw that and had to speak highly of that man. And that's pretty much all I got for the damn Eagles. I have them finishing at, let me see, a whopping max 7 wins. I think they go 7-10. I think that's a great year for the Eagles because they have a lot of holes to be filled and a lot of questions going into the year. I know you, Montana, love Mr. Hurts himself, but for me, I think, yes, as good as a player he can be, there's just a lot of questions. You know what I'm saying? I think, like I said, yes, they have the favorable SOS. I know Blake will probably mention that in a little bit, but I don't think that's much to say, bro. I don't think that's gonna really, be that impactful and be like, oh yeah, I see them winning maybe 9 games. Oh yeah, I see them. No, I think because of the holes that they I don't even think they successfully filled. There's just a lot of questions in my eyes. I don't know anything or really care too much about the damn Eagles. And it's just, I need them to prove me something. If they can prove me, I know they don't need to be proving me out of all people, but if they can prove me something, then, maybe I'll be like, okay, time out. The Eagles got a bright future. Because they do with Hurts and Smith, because they're both young. But right now, I need some sort of convincing. And until I get that, I got them being bottom tier of that division for years to come.
Before Blake,
Okay,
before you
go
go,
ahead.
I want to mention some things. Obviously, we saw Doug Peterson leave as the head coach in this past offseason. I know there's a lot of turmoil with the Eagles front office and how they handle the whole situation. They bring in Nick Sirianni, I think his last name is, and he was I think he was Frank Reich's offensive coordinator in Indianapolis. So that's interesting to see how he brings that type of an offense back to Philadelphia, because I feel like that's where the offense went wrong, is when Frank Reich left to Indianapolis to be the head coach. And obviously, I do believe when we get to the Indianapolis Colts, Carson Wentz, I do believe he's going to have a strong season over there because he's back with the guy that got him to almost an MVP season. Jalen Hurts, this is his first full offseason as the QB1 of the Philadelphia Eagles. I know there was a lot of talk about whether or not the Eagles were going to draft a quarterback and whether or not they believed in Jalen Hurts. But obviously, they do believe in Jalen Hurts. They're going to give him every opportunity they have to succeed in this new offense. He's going to be the quarterback hopefully for the whole year. There's not going to be much quarterback shuffling going on. So I'm definitely interested to see how that goes. Obviously, Devontae Smith is the new draft pick of the first round that the Eagles drafted. To bolster that receiving core, going with Travis Fulgham, I think he's still there, and all those other guys. Obviously, they still have Dallas Goedert. What they do with Zach Ertz is a question. Yep. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, the defense is where the suspect starts to begin, because their defense. Obviously, you have Darius Slay is still there as the top corner. You still have Fletcher Cox. Their defense still, though, in my opinion, the weak spots are at the linebacker position. So we'll see. We'll see how that translates over on the defensive side of the football. But there's no doubt in my mind that the offense is going to be able to put up points. Is this the Philadelphia Eagles defense? That's the question mark here. Blake, what do you got?
Really quick, Blake. Really quick.
Okay, go for it.
And then you could maybe even tune into this. What about their O-line though? Because we're talking about the Cowboys in old age. They got some old ass, people over there.
I trust the Eagles' offensive line a little bit more than.
So you're telling me you trust the Eagles' O-line with age that you just spoke horribly about the Cowboys situation. You trust their crap more than you trust. You know what? Never mind. Go ahead, Blake.
Okay, well, first.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Just go ahead, Blake.
Okay, well, I've obviously got to mention what you just brought up. You brought up their offensive line. They drafted Landon Dickerson with their second round pick.
But he's
He was
dealing
a
with that
beast.
ACL.
No,
He's dealing
100%. But
So
when
it's-
he
it's
comes back,
questionable.
when he comes back, he'll be a day one starter the minute he comes back, and he'll be an elite starter.
Blake. It is as great of a what is he, a center? As great of a lineman as he is, the man has. I looked at this, prior to this show. The man has dealt with countless of injuries. The man is going to be what I think. I don't, if he stays healthy, he'll go down as one of the greats. But if he doesn't, the man is going to pan out to be one of the most injury-prone linemen in the entire, in NFL history. The man is coming off of an ACL tear back in December. Prior to that, he tore the same knee or the same ACL 2 or 3 years ago. Prior to that, had I think ankle surgery or something like that. The man has had 4 or 5 surgeries on his entire lower legs in the past 6 to 7 years. It's to the point where it's going to come down to, is he going to be injury prone, or is he going to pan out to be a great? So it's a questionable and a hard pick to say the least. And I guess you take that gamble, but it's damn, bro. I don't know how. I just don't know, bro. It's questionable, and it's I don't know. We'll see, bro. It's just I don't know, man. It's crazy to see the fact that he's gotten so many injuries, and they still said, "Screw it, let's take the gamble."
No, I mean, I agree. If he doesn't stay in the field, that's obviously a wasted draft pick. I mean, but if he does, obviously they drafted him with the sense that they think he's going to come back healthy. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia must trust the nurses and the doctors that they have on their team that they're going to keep Landon on the field. They're going to keep him healthy. But with that being said, Landon Dickerson isn't a full fix to this offensive line.
At all.
This offensive line struggled a lot last year. And what people were so quick to blame Carson Wentz for their struggles last year, to blame those wide receivers for that struggle. That offensive line was not good at all. They didn't give Carson Wentz time. They didn't give their running back holes. Miles Sanders is a good running back, but he can only do so much when he's getting hit 2 times before he reaches the hole. Also, like you said, that defense is suspect. Yes, they did add a decent amount of defensive players to help them. They fixed their secondary, but they didn't fix that front 7. They still don't have I don't trust Ryan Kerrigan at the age he's at to be that number 1 defensive end, that number 1 pass rusher. I don't trust their linebackers, which they didn't do anything in the draft. They didn't do anything in free agency to fix their linebackers. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, Eagles fans, if you're listening right now, turn the volume off. I'm telling you to turn the volume off because the Eagles aren't winning a single game until week 13. They're going to start off. They're not winning a single game until week 13. They're losing weeks 1 through 12. They're going to lose every single one of those games. That's a hot take. I know it is, but it's just facts. I think it's going to happen. I don't think they win. They're going to lose with people like, what the heck is he talking about? I have to do a quick schedule rundown here.
Go ahead. Let them know.
Week 1 at the Falcons, they're going to lose.
Speak it.
Week 2, they play the 49ers. They're going to lose.
Speak it!
Week 3, they play at Dallas. L. Week 4, they play the Chiefs. No brainer. L. Week 5, you're playing at Carolina. L.
Come on.
Week 6, you're playing the Super Bowl champions. L.
Come on.
Week 7, you're playing at Las Vegas.
I have them beating Vegas, but continue.
Okay. Week 7, they play at Las Vegas. The Eagles have never been there before. They're going to be gambling the night before the game.
This man. What do you think? They're Michael Jordan all of a sudden? Come on, man.
Week 8, they play at Detroit. I know that's probably controversial.
No, stop it. I like Detroit.
Lose that game.
I like Detroit. Stop it. Montana. We'll get into it. Wait. We'll get into it. But Montana doesn't like the Lions, y'all. Montana doesn't like the Lions.
I know. He's a hater on the Lions.
He's a hater on the Lions. Continue.
Jared Goff is better than Jalen Hurts right now in their careers.
I don't know.
Right now in their careers, Jared Goff is a better quarterback. I love the hire that Detroit's coach. People make fun of him because he's a goofy dude. He's full of energy. But guess what? They're going to come to play this year.
Damn right.
They're not going to be an easy loss. Jared Goff, yes, he's not a great quarterback, but he's the definition of your average, decent NFL quarterback. Jalen Hurts right now is a below-average quarterback in the league. He hasn't done anything to prove me differently. They haven't won too many games. His stats aren't crazy. He still doesn't have that great of accuracy. Going on, though, Week 9, they play the Chargers, who are just a better team in every aspect. L. Then they play at the Broncos, L. Then they play versus the Saints, L. Then they play at the Giants, L. And then finally in week 13, all
Yes,
of
sir.
Philadelphia's prayers are answered. They beat the Jets. They beat the freaking Jets. I'll give them that one. But it's at New York. It's at the Jets. They could freaking lose that game. They could go out there and lose that game. But anyways,
up to
then
this
they have
point, really quick. Up to this point, I'm indifferent in the sense of I have them beating Vegas, I have them beating Carolina, and I have them beating Denver. Then you said it. You're three. You said they all split, or do you think the Eagles literally lose every game?
No. I think the Eagles win 3 out of their. I think the Eagles win 3 out of their last 4 games.
There's
they win
six.
At
there's
home
six.
Against
You know what I'm
Washington
saying? There's 6 wins that I have, and I projected them at 7. So I mean, I was close. Continue. Let me hear it.
Hey,
I'm loving this.
I'm
loving this.
Even though they don't win a game till week 13, I have them winning 4 games still because
Talk to them.
They win at home at Washington. Against Washington. They win at home against the Giants, and then they win at home against the Cowboys. I think those are 3 games that are very doable for them. But other than that, I just don't see what the hype about Jalen Hurts is about. Yes, he's got a crazy work ethic. But what has that translated so far in the NFL? He replaced Carson Wentz because
he barely had any opportunity. He barely had a chance to do anything last year. He played
this is why you're a
goat,
Blake. And this is why you're a goat, Blake.
No, he didn't.
This is why you're a goat, Blake. This is why you're a goat. Continue.
He played the last quarter of the season. He didn't play half the season.
Okay, but he played just about half the season. He put up numbers. Come on, are you serious?
You're underestimating how this offense is going to. This offense is going to.
I'm just
something.
I'm just waiting. Hold on. I'm looking at his numbers, but the numbers that matters are wins. And he had what?
He's a rookie quarterback.
Last year, 2 wins. I don't give a. Mitch Trubisky was horrible and came in his rookie year and won more games than Jalen Hurts did.
Yeah, but he played a full season. Trubisky played a full season.
Trubisky didn't play till I think week 6 against the Vikings. No. Yes, look it up.
Trubisky started week 1. I'm gonna look that up right now.
Look it up. Wait, but before you continue, it's crazy, y'all, because y'all don't understand the passion or the excitement that I'm seeing right now. Because before the show and yesterday, Montana stated in our group chat that he has Washington and or Philly winning this division. So for Blake to speak like this, exactly. I have both Cowboys and Giants up top. I have Cowboys winning. Blake has the Giants winning, and he has the Cowboys right behind him. And then both the bottom feeders of Washington and Philly, Montana has both of them up top. And it's just, this is beautiful to me. This is beautiful to me seeing this because I completely agree. Now, I don't know about the 13 in a row. I think they win a couple games in between, but I still think they're a bottom seed team, a bottom feeder team, finishing 7-10. I'm loving this, bro.
And once Montana looks up that I'm correct and that Mr. Trubisky did not start the season off under John Fox, he was not the starting quarterback. But hey, it doesn't matter. It's not. That is besides the point. God. The only point is now I know I just hated on Jalen Hurts, and maybe a lot of it was a little unwarranted, but he could still prove me wrong. He could go out there and have a good year. He has the tools. He's a big quarterback. He's relatively mobile. They added Devontae Smith. That's a huge weapon for them. But I just don't think there's enough going around because put it this way, Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback that if you give him a perfect situation, he can succeed. But if you don't give him that ideal situation, he just doesn't succeed as well, which is the big problem. I think you put Jalen Hurts on a team like the Chiefs, yeah, he's going crazy. But where he's at in his career with the Eagles, they don't have enough weapons. They don't have a good enough offensive line.
They have enough weapons.
No, they don't.
Not for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts so far in his career.
He's got 2 solid tight ends. He's got a running. Yeah, he has Miles Sanders.
No. He has one solid tight end. And we already know Ertz is not going to play, bro.
Ertz is either gone or even when Ertz is there, he's injured. Let's be honest.
Come on, bro.
And then if we look at what happened
good enough
last
for tight end, though.
Okay, that's
if Philly had weapons, it would have showed last year because most teams do not double a tight end. Zach Ertz was doubled every single game last year he played, but yet wide receivers were still not getting open for them. You add Devontae Smith, that's one fixer, but that's it. You don't have enough wide receivers. You don't have a good enough. Exactly. You don't. Jalen Hurts needs an all-around team for him to be successful, and the Eagles don't have that. Just plain and simple.
That's why I said too many holes to fix, too many questions to be asked, too many questions to be even freaking addressed that they didn't. Like there's just so many things wrong with the Eagles, and as sad as it is to say, a lot of fans are probably going to come at both me and Blake because they're going to be butthurt because they're passionate about their team. It's just the facts, bro. If you see otherwise, at that point, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're just a casual, as Blake is accustomed to saying. You're just a casual. This team does not have enough to potentially even win over the number of 8 wins this year. There's just no chance that they do so. And if they win 7 to 8 games, you think that's going to win the division? I'm sorry to tell you. Well, I'm sorry to tell you the truth. But in my eyes, I don't think that number, as poor as this division has been, I think that number is just too low to win the division in my eyes. So I have them at 7-10 at the bottom of the division with the football team right above them, which I'll talk about in a second. And then I have Dallas and New York both tied at 10-7, with the Cowboys having the edge because of the tiebreaker.
No, I think we've kind of hated on and threw them in the trash enough. So with that being said, Montana, I know you want to lead with the Washington football team, so let's transition into them now.
All right, so we got the Washington football team, who I'm going to say right now is going to be the team of destiny in this division and win the NFC East.
Oh, hell no, bro.
They're going to the Washington football team. They have the formula to do it, man. They have Ron Rivera, who's one of the best, most consistent head coaches in the National Football League. Hello, let's listen here. Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in as the quarterback.
Ryan. Say it, Montana. Say his name again. What's his name?
Fitzmagic.
Oh, hell no.
Nope.
Listen, and that's from a Dolphins fan, bro. I got a lot of love. I'll get into this, Montana. Go ahead.
Okay, so now you're talking all this shit about Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Go ahead, Montana. I'll talk my crap.
When the guy had to come in for Tua multiple times last year.
Go, Montana, go ahead. I'll talk my crap.
We'll see about that. We'll see.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The Washington football team, obviously, they had a bunch of quarterback issues last year, so Ryan Fitzpatrick is coming in now to stability, at least for this 1 year, to stabilize the whole situation until they can find the quarterback of the future. Who knows? They could end up trading for Deshaun Watson for all I know, and then they would definitely win the division at that point. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's still a lot of offseason to play. Deshaun Watson is definitely in play for Washington.
With that being said, though, hold on. I'm going to interrupt you just one time. You say you believe in Jalen Hurts so much, but you want to know who Vegas has as the odd-on favorites to get Deshaun Watson? Your Eagles. So if they believe
not my Eagles.
in Jalen Hurts
I don't have the
Eagles
winning the division, so whatever.
It doesn't matter, but you have no. Hold on, Montana. If I'm correct, or if I was correctly, from looking at text messages and or receipts, Mister, I have the Washington football team and or the Philadelphia Eagles winning the division.
Well, I said
so that means you have the Eagles at second behind the Washington football team. So that means if they're believing in Mr. Jalen Hurts, why would they make this potential trade to
I don't think they are going to make a trade. They're not going to make a trade for Deshaun Watson, obviously, because either Washington or someone else is going to make the trade for Deshaun Watson.
Nah, see, I think the Eagles don't make the trade for Deshaun Watson because I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be able to play in the NFL anymore.
Oh,
that's the only reason.
Obviously, there has been no evidence to the contrary. That's the case. So
right now, where the hell are you?
Okay, besides
as of right now, he's still playing in the NFL, and the NFL has to put him on an exempt list yet. So
let's let Montana continue with the Washington football team. No, we're good. We got.
Okay, now I'm going to continue here. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke, all these quarterbacks for the Washington football team last year. It was a revolving door. This year, it's going to be much more consistent with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's obviously, I believe he's good enough. He's good enough to get the Washington football team into the playoffs, and he's definitely good enough on offense to be a decent quarterback for this team that's going to be able to put up enough points. Because obviously, Washington is not going to – they're not known for throwing the football. Obviously, they did upgrade at wide receiver position with Curtis Samuel coming in as one of the key offensive additions. We also obviously have Terry McLaurin, who I believe is going to have a big season this year. I believe at tight end, I want to say it's Logan Thomas. That's the tight end for Washington.
He just resigned.
Who
Or extension.
who, mind you, had a really good season last year and really came on as a tight end, as one of the best tight ends in this league,
I'll give it to you.
receiving wise. He's yes, okay. Offensive line, this is by far the best offensive line in this division. We look at left tackle Leno Charles Jr.,
Did I just hear you
left
say
guard
that correctly?
Eric Flowers.
Did I just hear you say that correctly?
What?
You just said this is the. Continue, Montana.
This is the best offensive line in this division. There is no doubt in my mind here. Brandon Sheriff, who's probably the best right tackle in this division.
Right.
Not right tackle, right guard. My bad. Well, besides Zach Martin, I could say Zach Martin might be the best, but Zach Martin hasn't been healthy. Brandon Sheriff has been healthy. At right tackle, obviously we have Leonard Rick. Obviously, he's a very much of an unknown player, but he's a decent right tackle. The guy played for them last year.
He will not be. I don't think he's starting. I think their rookie Sam Kuzmi, sorry, is starting.
Well, even if that's the case, I still believe the offensive line is definitely the best in the division. We're obviously looking at Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, who is obviously the Washington football team are going to rely on the running game this year. This is probably one of the best Thunder and Lightning combinations in this division. You have Antonio Gibson, who's no slouch in the receiving game either, but he's more of the Thunder to J.D. McKissick's Lightning in the passing game. So we're going to see a very balanced, well-balanced 1-2 combo in the running game for Washington. And the defense, this is where the Washington football team makes their bread and butter here, is that defense and their defensive line. Obviously, it's anchored by Chase Young, who's the number 2 pick in last year's draft, who played phenomenally last year. Obviously won defensive rookie of the year. We also looking at other guys like Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, De'Aaron Payne, all these guys on the defensive line. This is one of the most scariest defensive lines in all of football. And no matter how bad you guys are going to say in a second that the secondary is,
Whoa. Who said their secondary is bad?
I could have sworn I heard Blake earlier
that's not me.
Say.
Oh no, that's
Didn't
not
you say?
us.
I could have sworn that he had said that the secondary was one of the worst defensive secondaries.
I love. Listen.
Nah,
I love.
Or are we talking? Or was it the secondary?
It was a different team.
Crew?
No,
we were talking about a different
the
team.
Eagles. The Eagles linebackers were ass.
So I'm just confused where you guys' mentality is here with the Washington football team.
Let me go first. Let me go first.
No. Let me finish.
Yeah, once you're done, I'll go first. Go ahead.
Okay. The secondary, led by Kendall Fuller, who's one of the best slot receivers in football. They have Landon Collins, who's one of the best free safeties in football, even though he's getting up there in age a little bit. This defense is no slouch. They're going to be able to get to the quarterback easily. And especially in this division with everyone's offensive line questions that we have, Washington is going to win. I think they're going to win 10, 11 games and win this division fairly easily. I think this is Washington's division to lose, and they have everything going for them this year. Obviously, the quarterback is a question mark, but I do believe Ryan Fitzpatrick is a good enough quarterback, a game manager quarterback, to stabilize this team for at least 1 year. Again, who knows? There could be a different quarterback by the time the season starts.
Fitzpatrick might not even be starting. I thought Taylor Heineke was the QB1 going into the training camp.
I've never heard anything about that. Ryan Fitzpatrick, as far as I know, is the quarterback for Washington at the moment. Okay. But besides that, I do believe Washington is good enough to win 10 and 11 games and win this division fairly easily. This defense is no joke. I've seen a lot of defenses in the past win football games, and this defense is something else. This defense is scary. I wouldn't, if I'm an opposing team, I don't want to play against this defensive line because I know my quarterback's going to be running for his life the whole entire game. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys see? What do you guys' standpoint on Washington?
So now, never, ever did I disrespect this defensive team in Washington. I think, if anything, this will be a top 3 defense in the entire league. Maybe, the hot take, maybe even the best defensive team in the entire league. Number 1. Number 2, their draft was exceptional. At least the first 4 picks that they made in that draft. Coming in with Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky. The man had a pro day of a 4.4740, a 42-inch vert, and an 11-foot broad jump. The man has extreme explosiveness, to say the least, and will be a nightmare when it comes to matchups and just in general defensively for that squad. So that's a huge pickup. yes, I was yelling at you and getting all upset because I don't think this team is going to do anything in the sense of getting that high up in wins. Sam Kuzmi, or however you pronounce his name, the man started 34 games in his 3 seasons at Texas. 34 games.
That's like every game.
The man has, I guess, what I don't even know what the word would be in that aspect, but he's 6'6", 314 pounds. It's just, bro, the man is just going to be a freaking tank. I feel like he has potential to add to that that line that you said that you were talking about. There's a lot of questions. This man said the best line in the entire division. I'm not even going to get into it. There's no need for me even discussing that. Number 2, their corners in Benjamin St. Juste or however you pronounce his name. Exceptional talent. I believe. Let me double check his height because I don't want to say the wrong thing. The man is 6 foot he's 6 foot, 202 pounds. I feel like the man has the ability to do wonders for this squad. I think they were projecting him at an exceptional mix of a size of 6'3", 6'3.5", with the agility of 6.63, 3-cone drill. Like the man has extreme athleticism in 3 different body types, is what they're saying. So if they're hyping him up like this, hey man, credit and all power to him. Another good pickup, Dayami Brown. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I am so very sorry. The man averaged 20 yards per catch in North Carolina and scored 20 touchdowns over his final 2 seasons in North Carolina. He'll drop the ball here and there, but big plays the big plays will keep coming, is what they said when he got drafted. So, I mean, look, the pieces are there offensively for this damn squad. You know what I'm saying? I like Washington as a whole in the aspect of getting Curtis Samuel, of getting Adam Humphries. You know what I'm saying? Now you have Scary Terry. You know, the man light out himself, hypes him up way too much. But that offense has pieces. And Logan Thomas, like you mentioned, you know what I'm saying? He's going to do his thing. My problem with this team has nothing to do with defense. Their defense, as much as I don't like Bobby McCain, as much as I don't like him at all, that defense has so much talent that it blows my mind, right? That defense has always been a force the last few seasons, correct? You know what I'm saying? So I see no problem with that. My problem will be the other side of the damn ball. You know what I'm saying? My biggest concern for this team is simply the fact that they don't have a true quarterback. As much as I can say, yes, Fitzmagic, that's my guy. Montana, he held us to, he started out 3-3, which we then 3-3, and then we put Tua in, finishing 7-3. Yes, he won us that game against the Raiders with the crazy no-look freaking face mask pulling, everything wild. You could say whatever you want. It wasn't every game that he stepped in for Tua Tagovailoa. It was 1 or if not 2 games that he stepped in late for Tua. And I'll give you that. But to play, when he played every single snap, the man went 3-3. So you're telling me that this man's going to come out here and have a prolific career or a prolific season?
He doesn't have to have a prolific season, though. You're acting like he has to throw for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns.
But what you're saying, so what you're telling me is that this Washington team is going to be a Patriots of the past with a freaking phenomenal defense, and the defense carrying them to success?
Yeah, but the Patriots had Tom Brady.
No, but I wasn't gonna bring up Tom Brady. Like, relax, Blake.
All okay, right, I need to get in. I've heard enough.
Hold on. All right. Now, because of Fitzmagic's ability suspect ability, you know what I'm saying, to carry this team, as much pieces as they have offensively that they added, and they're going to have fun. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to have a fun year that will potentially last and maybe even surprise me and be what Montana said and win 11 games. I think they will have a fun year, and I think fans will enjoy these games because I don't think they're going to be blowouts. I don't think any of them are going to be blowouts. I just don't see offensively Fitzmagic being able to control any game whatsoever and beat out a different quarterback and a different offense that they face. Even let's say they make the playoffs. You're telling me that this team can outweigh any team in the NFC simply because of their offense. Take defense out of the question. You're telling me this offense is going to push to the next level and potentially even in some people's eyes, aka light out, potentially win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl this year?
Well, I never said they were going to go to the Super Bowl this year. What are you talking about?
To be fair, Montana did not say that.
Okay, but he said 11 games. So how far do you think they're going to go, Montana?
They'll win the division.
You said 11. You said 11 games. So that speaks highly of this team that they can make a deep push in the playoffs.
True.
No, they're not going to make a deep push in the playoffs.
So then, how do you have them winning 11 games? Division. How do you have them winning 11 games?
They're going to win a ton of games in the regular season.
So then, why can't they do anything in the postseason?
Because they're going to play one of the NFC West teams. That's why. And I believe the NFC West is the best division in football that could potentially have. I never said they were going to go far in the playoffs. They're acting like I said they were going to go far in the playoffs.
So an 11 and 16 is going to lose in the first round, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, because I think one of the NFC West teams is going to have a better. I think all three. I think there's potential for three, maybe even all four teams to be to be in that playoffs.
At that point, and listen, at that point, Blake, take it over. All I'm going to say to end this is that my biggest concern with this damn Washington football team is Ryan Fitzmagic. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything for this team. I love every other piece that they have offensively. Everything they did in the offseason was phenomenal. They added pieces offensively on their wide receiver core. They did their thing defensively, added what they needed to do. But Fitzmagic, biggest question, biggest problem, leads me to believe 8-9 final prediction for the Washington football team, ultimately being the third team in that division. My order, Dallas, 10-7, 10-7 New York, basically Cowboys having that freaking tiebreaker. 8-9 Washington, 7-10 the freaking non-existent Eagles. Go ahead, Blake.
Okay, well, I'm gonna end the show with just straight facts here.
Go ahead.
Every time Ryan Fitzpatrick has had the opportunity to start a long period of time, he ends up getting benched because he is a backup quarterback. When he was with Tampa Bay, that's when Fitzmagic started. Fitzmagic started in Tampa Bay, but then guess what happens? He ended up getting blown out back-to-back weeks. And what happens? Oh, bye-bye. Back to the bench for you. Hello, Jameis Winston.
Talk your crap.
He comes into Miami. He goes 500. Very average. 500 against below-average teams, not to say the least.
Horrible.
Gets benched for a rookie quarterback coming off an injury.
7-3.
No hate on Tua.
Say it, Blake. Say it, Blake. He finished 7-3. Blake, say it.
Let me keep going. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the best backup quarterback, but that's all he is a backup quarterback. He can't consistently win you games as a starting quarterback. Why do you think he hasn't had one moment in his career to start more than like 5 games in a season? Because he isn't good enough to do so. Not to mention, you talked about all the wide receivers they got, Sebastian, but their biggest problem is they have 3 or 4 wide receivers on the team that all play pretty much out of the slot. They all have the same role. Curtis Samuel, Dynami Brown, why am I forgetting? Terry McLaurin. They all are speedy receivers that are down the field threats. They aren't short catch receivers.
Don't forget Adam Humphries.
Adam Humphries is a bum. I don't care about Adam Humphries. Forget Adam Humphries.
Chill. That's Montana. Wait, chill. That's Montana's favorite player in Madden, bro.
How's that my favorite?
He always makes a trade for Adam Humphries.
I never make a trade for him.
Forget that. Adam Humphries is a bum. You have 3 receivers that are the same receiver. You don't have a big body receiver. Every team. A key for an offense is to have a mix of different kinds of receivers. Redskins all have the same type of receiver. With that being said,
let me say one thing really quick to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Dwami Brown, 6 foot, 195. Terry McLaurin, 6 foot, 210 pounds. Curtis Samuel, 5'11", 195. Currently out.
I'm trying to tell you.
And Adam Humphries, 5'11", 195.
They're all the same type of receiver. That's the biggest problem. Yes. On paper, it looks good getting guys like Curtis Samuel. And I'm sure some people out there like Adam Humphries. And Dynami Brown is fast. And like you said, he can get big plays. But you need that consistent every down wide receiver. And Terry McLaurin, I think, could potentially kind of be that guy he can kind of do more than just be a slot receiver. He proved that last year,
Mm-hmm.
but he still is a short, speedy receiver, and that's all they have. And in the NFL, that has proven not to work. You need receivers and tight ends of all different calibers for your offense to be complete. And with that being said, back to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like,
Talk your crap.
he can't win. He can go out there and maybe do enough to not lose you games, but he's certainly not going to go out you and win games for you. And what we have seen in the NFL in the past, great defenses can only get you so far with a subpar quarterback. The Chicago Bears. The
Talk your
Chicago
crap.
Bears
Let
had
him
the
know.
top 10 defense 3 out of the last 4 years, but they have made it to the first round, and that's it. Like, all I'm saying is the Redskins' formula on offense is not going to work. Their running backs are decent. You have a top 5 offensive line in the league. I know Montana was saying they have the best offensive line in the division. That is 100% facts. 100% facts. They have a good offensive line. But it doesn't matter when you have a quarterback that has proven time in and time again to not be consistent, to not be enough to be a starting quarterback. Like, I don't know what you expect, Ryan. You're talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick like he can go out there and win you 12 games like he hasn't played, 15, 16 seasons already, proving that he can't do just that. He's been put in better situations than he is in Washington and hasn't won. So who's to say he's going to go out there and now just win 11 games for Washington? He could go out there and prove me wrong and be consistent. Or maybe Taylor Heineke will come out there and be that quarterback. But let's not forget, Taylor Heineke was selling insurance before Washington had 4 quarterbacks get injured. And now he has one good game in the playoffs, and they sign him to a contract. Like, no offense, Washington doesn't have a proven quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick just isn't a proven quarterback, which is why I only have them winning 4 games this year. That might be too low. That might be too low.
Yeah, that is low too.
Okay,
that's a little disrespectful, but go ahead. Go
okay,
on.
that's what I'm saying. I might be being a little too disrespectful by saying 4 wins, but I think anywhere in the 6 to 7 wins is probably where they're going to win because they don't have that quarterback. They so direly need not only a top wide, they don't have a number 1 wide receiver. No hate to my boy Terry McLaurin, but you can't be the number 1 receiver on the best team in the league. And like, who's to say, like, no offense to Washington, but you're not playing to make the playoffs and lose in the first round. You're playing to win the Super Bowl. And the Washington Redskins, plain and simple, don't nearly have enough to win the Super Bowl. They don't have enough to make the playoffs, in my opinion, which is why they're not going to, win this division. Because the biggest thing in this division is who's going to have the most consistent all-around team. Not who has the best defense, not who has the best offense, but who's going to put both pieces together. And no offense, it's just not the Washington football team.
Okay. I mean, we definitely shall see, man. We shall see. This division is definitely one of the more hotly contested divisions to talk about. No one knows what the hell is going to happen. It could be any team in this division could win and surprise us. But I do believe Washington is going to win this. I know, Blake, you have the Giants winning this division. Sebastian, you have the Cowboys winning the division.
Yes, sir.
Anything else before we sign off on today's show?
Yes. It has nothing to do with football, but I'm hearing reports and I'm seeing reports that tonight there is a 85 to 95% chance Ben Simmons is traded. You heard it here first on Unspoken.
Do you have a team?
No team yet.
To?
I would say it doesn't say where, but it says the Sixers will be trying effortlessly to trade Ben Simmons, and then it said on the back end of the report, 85 to 95%. There's a trade done tonight for Ben Simmons.
Did you see what his asking price was, though? Oh my God, it was like
ridiculous.
4 first-rounders, a young player, and
it's
3
James Harden. It's a James Harden 2.0.
Not going to happen. I think the only way he gets traded, I think what's going to happen is Philadelphia is looking themselves in the mirror and they're saying, wow, like no team is even coming close to matching this offer. And I think they're going to bite the bullet and say, guess what? We're going to accept whatever the best offer is on the table. I think what they're going to do is they're going to talk to every team that's somewhat interested. They're going to say, forget what we asked for him. We're going to see what the best price is, and they're just going to ship him. Regardless of what it is, they're going to ship him for the best offer tonight. I 100% agree with you, Sebastian. Ben Simmons will no longer be a 76ers after tonight's draft. But that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the draft tonight. That's all.
We'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see. All right, that's going to be it for the NFC East preview. As far as that goes, if you guys haven't already, follow on Apple and Spotify, leave a rating and review. If you guys are watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, leave a comment. Helps the YouTube algorithm find us. We also have a Madden 22 giveaway that's happening. The winner will be announced on Sunday. Hopefully, if we get enough submissions. Right now, there's only about 4 people that submitted a submission into the giveaway. So if you guys are interested in getting a free copy of Madden 22, please so do the contest. It's really easy to enter into the contest. And we'll be announcing this hopefully on Sunday. As far as that goes, our next division will be the AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, and the Cleveland Browns. So we'll probably get into that. I don't know 100% sure, but hopefully tomorrow that show will be up. But besides that, that's going to be it for Unspoken Rules number 32 in our NFC East preview. I'm Montana. You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Wildcard Movies. Sebastian, where can they find you?
Rabbit FL everywhere.
And Blake?
Blake Spillers everywhere.
And we will see you guys on the next episode of Unspoken Rules. Peace.
See you guys.